Hello! Today I want to tell you about water changes and show you how I do them in my marine aquarium. What you can see is my tank. This is a standard Red Sea Reefer 425XL, and with all the improvements I've made, it has about 420 liters of net water. As you can see underneath, there is no sump, which I've moved to the utility room. Thanks to this solution, the aquarium is very quiet and the whole maintenance is much easier. Let's go to the sump room to make water change. To those who have no idea about marine reef tanks, I need to tell that changing water is about removing part of the old water and replacing it with the same amount of the freshly prepared brine. I will tell you why it is so important in a second, because now I would like to show you how I do the water change. From a technical point of view, water change alone is a very simple process, but despite the simplicity, it is probably that part of the weekly aquarium maintenance that aquarists like the least. And it is probably because all that fast. You have to collect the RO water, you have to mix it with the right amount of salt, the water is heavy and you probably have to carry it somewhere, and no matter how careful you are, the floor always gets wet. When I designed my system, I made sure that the process would be as easy as it can be. This is my water change tank. It is about 27 liters capacity, which is about 6.5% of the total volume of my system. It is standing on the platform with wheels, so whenever required I can easily move it to the middle of the room for maintenance. It is constantly connected to the main system through the pump that runs 24/7 water through this. So for me, changing the water is simply switching off the pump, draining out this water that is here, then replacing it with the newly prepared salt water and switching the pump back on. The whole process takes not longer than 5-10 minutes. Here I've collected about 30 liters of water from the reverse osmosis filter. I have 27 liters mark on the container, but I always collect a little more because I use part of the water to grow phyto and zooplankton. Since the beginning of my aquarium, I've been using marine power reef-based salt from Tropical. I can really recommend it because I've been actively involved in developing this salt from scratch, so I know what's inside. It dissolves very quickly and has stable parameters similar to the natural seawater. And in my opinion, this is a very important feature of every good aquarium salt. We all know that in seawater it is much easier to raise a single parameter when it is too low than to lower it when it is too high. And the water changes with this salt will always bring your water parameters to be similar to those in the sea. And if someone wants to raise a specific parameter, they just add it separately. Okay, let's go back to the water change. And now, few important things for the beginners. It is always better to pour the salt to the water, not the other way around. And surely don't collect water from the filter into the container with the salt in it. This is not the rule, but because of the very high local ion concentration where water drips, carbonates may precipitate and then the water may be simply cloudy. That's why we always add salt to the water. My second advice is providing that we always change the same amount of water. It is a good idea to find a small container that filled up with salt will give you the expected salinity. And even if correction is required, it is then very quick and easy. In my case, This amount of salt added to this container, to this amount of water, will give me salinity of about 35 ppt. Okay, so all I have to do now is to connect the pump to stir the water, add the salt, and in 10 minutes my artificial seawater will be ready. Okay, the brine is already mixing, so I have a moment to tell you about the importance of water changes. In my opinion, changing the water can be seen as its refreshment, just like opening a window for a while in a heated room. Thanks to the regular changes, we dilute the undesirable substances, and at the same time, we add a little bit of those that are needed. This process, however, is not very efficient and must be supported by additional filtration and supplementation in most tanks. But the greater the difference between aquarium water parameters and fresh brine parameters, the greater the importance of regular changes. If the level of one element is the same in both, the change will not affect this particular parameter. However, the aquarium water contains dozens of different substances, and we can only measure a few of them using homemade methods. Therefore, the power of water changes lies in its regularity, especially if we talk about microelements and trace elements which we can't determine on a daily basis. Some time ago, I created a calculator in Excel with graphs presenting how a given change affects a specific parameter of aquarium water, for example, calcium or nitrates. I even plan to show you this calculator here, but it is a bit more complex topic and it needs some time to explain. However, if you would like to watch such an episode, please comment the film and let me know. I often see opinions that water changes are not necessary and that it is possible to run a marine aquarium without them. People usually add a link or a photo of beautifully looking aquarium to prove their point. And yes, I agree that water changes might be unnecessary, but you can't suddenly stop doing them just like that. The whole system must be prepared for this, and the lack of regular water changes must be taken into account when setting up additional supplementation and filtration. Additionally, methods like Triton require additional ICP tests, so everything comes with a price. Looking at the evolution of marine aquaristics, I sometimes wonder where it is going. In the past, changing water was one of the basic activities to keep the aquarium in good condition. And today, I have the impression that there is a potentially dangerous tendency to take shortcuts in this hobby. I can understand conscious decision of stopping of water changes and replacing them with additional supplementation and filtration if someone is experienced and understands the aquarium. But I totally disapprove giving up on water changes because of laziness or looking for savings. It seems to me that we forget about the basics of this hobby, and that an aquarium is not just some animated screensaver, but a tank with living organisms, and it is our responsibility to take care of it. In a healthy and mature marine aquarium, changing from 5 to 10% of water weekly or bi-weekly is a basic rule of good old school of marine aquarium hobby. Larger and more frequent changes are only needed in emergency situations when, for example, calcium levels have jumped to 600 due to the dosing pump failure. In this case, A few larger water changes day after day may be the only way to save the animals in the aquarium. In very young aquariums, there is no point in making changes at all during the first couple of weeks. We are then more concerned about closing the nitrogen cycle than about water replacement. The exception may be again when, for example, nitrates are at a very high levels. Then a larger change or even a few of them will help to dilute them to a safer levels. Okay, that's enough of my talking. I'm sure the brine is ready. Now let's go finish changing the water. Welcome back to my sump room. As you can see, the salt has completely dissolved and the water is clear, which is a great advantage of this salt because it dissolves really quickly without causing any cloudiness. So let's check the salinity to make sure that this is right. And for this purpose, I use traditional refractometer. As I was expecting, the salinity is nearly ideal 35 ppt, which means that now I can complete the water change. I hope you are able to see that the water was filling up this tank to this level. So all I have to do is to close the lid and start the pump. And you can hear that the pump has started. You can see the bubbling here, which means that the newly prepared salt water is mixing with the main system, which is the end of the whole process. That's it for today. I hope you liked this episode and I hope that I was able to manage all your concerns you might have. If you have any questions, please leave the comments below and please subscribe to this channel so you will never miss any episodes. Thank you for watching, stay healthy and see you soon.